going to jump in here. And if anybody has questions, you're going to post those in the chat. Let's take a look and see what's going down. Let's record this to the cloud because that sounds cool. And then let's see who's here. We got Earl. Hey, Earl. We got Chris. What's up, Chris? I hope you guys can hear me. Can everybody hear me as we get started here? Wonderful. I'm going to mute that. We are live streaming right now. Sorry for the poor quality in the camera. It luckily doesn't, it's not super important that you can see the camera well. I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to get started. Okay. So we're going to hit the share screen button over here. Okay. I just want to make sure everything is going well. So we're just going to jump into here. All right. So as we're going through here, it helps if you have questions, be sure to check out the chat section, comment with your question. We're going to jump into this and get started here on time. So we're going to get going in just a couple minutes as we're waiting for people to jump in. Be sure to say what's up. Just as a FYI, this is going to be recorded also. So I'll go through and edit it as well, because there's going to be some sections that are a little bit technical as far as like setting up pixels and setting up retargeting audiences and going through AdWords and setting up all of these different things. So if you have any questions, though, just comment with your question. Don't hesitate to put out a comment there. And we're going to get started in just a second. All right. So let's take a look here. Cool. We're good to go. So be sure to say where you're watching from. Say what's up. Let's see here. And we're going to get started in just a minute. We got some LaCroix and some pre-workout, not mixed together, but that's a recipe for success for sure. All right. So as we get going here, just really quick, today we're going to be talking about short-term rental marketing. And I think that this is going to be really beneficial for you with use. We're talking specifically about the short-term rental Wi-Fi marketing. So this is I think a really cool opportunity. Let's see who's here. Chris. Hey, Sarah. We got Earl. We got Chris. What's up, everybody? We're going to jump into this here in just a second and start on time. And if there's anything specifically that you guys would like me to cover today, I'm going to go over what's on the agenda in just a second here. But if there's anything that you see that I'm not going to cover, if you raise your hand and post a comment there, then I will be sure to jump on that. And let's see. But I will be going through the comments here, or the questions rather. And then let's see, I'm going to see if I can ask you guys a question. Oh, okay. Okay, so it looks like we've got Ignat on as well. So we're going to get going here in just a second. So as I mentioned, this is being recorded as we speak. I'm going to edit it down, and I'm actually going to chunk it into different sections here so that you don't have to watch through the whole thing, where you can say like, oh, I'm setting up my AdWords right now. I need to go back to that section. How does that work again? Because I find that a lot of times, especially as you're going through it, you don't need the information until you need it, until it's going. So we're going to get started here. It is 1:31. For those of you who are here, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. Let's get into this short-term rental marketing masterclass. So hello, my name is Brandon Brashears. I just wanted to, if you don't know who I am, I'm recording this for future. People will say, let's, one second here. So I got to open the chat box so that I can see it. Somebody chatted something. Alt-H. Where is it? Let's see. Okay. And okay, everybody's here. Cool. So we're going. So hello, my name is Brandon Brashears, and I do digital marketing for a living. I run, last year I ran about $500,000 on AdWords and about $500,000 on Facebook for clients. Typically, the kind of marketing that I do, I generally work on custom funnels and client acquisition and things like that for clients. And so the way that I got into working on short-term rental marketing is that I've known Jay, Massey, and Robert I've known Jay for about 12 years now, which is crazy to think. We did real estate and Nouveau Riche together back a long time ago. And anyways, I do digital marketing for a living, and I work a lot with veterinary practices. And one of the biggest difficulties in working with veterinary practices and local businesses specifically is that when you're running ads, it's tough to know where the conversions are coming from. So with this Wi-Fi router solution, we're able to place pixels, which we're going to get into. And basically, when people come into your business and that pixel runs, we set up a custom conversion event, and then we're able to track where the person came from. So was what I was getting at and trying to go for. And I've known Jay for a long time, and I keep up with him all the time. So I knew that he had short-term rentals as well. And so I said, hey, I think this is going to work really good for you and your short-term rentals. Let's give it a try. And so we've installed it in his units, and it works really, really well. All right. I got the chat window open, by the way. It was hiding behind the participant window. All right. So as we get started here, I just want to mention a couple things. First, if you have questions, be sure to comment there, and I will go through and I'll stop periodically and reference the different questions that we have running on. But I'm telling you that the reason why I'm going over who I am and how I got started, so that you understand that I do digital marketing for a living. I love this stuff. If you have any questions, you need help with it, let me know. You're not learning from somebody who just teaches it. I'm doing this every single day. All right. So this is what we are going to be working on today. We need to first figure out what the end goal is typically with marketing. This is our agenda for today. We're going to go over which channels we need to set up, what are important baselines to be considering for measuring our marketing ROI. We're going to establish goals. We're going to define clients. We're going to define offers. We're going to build support content strategy. We're going to use what I call a 3+1 strategy, and then rotate and test different offers. So ultimately, the goal here that we're trying to do is we're trying to get more of your bookings to happen on your own channels. When you are able to control who is coming into your acquisition model, you're going to be in far greater control. This it is very, very nerve-wracking to put all of your eggs into one basket. Now, I know that there's a bunch of different companies that do bookings and things. And just as a quick question here, I would like to know which is your biggest booking website, and about how much percentage of your bookings do you get from them? I would be interested to know that. But, Airbnb is a great tool, VRBO, and, all these other places that have the customer base that you can tap into and basically acquire new short-term rental clients. That's amazing to have there. But here's the thing, if they change the rules, if they took that away, if they went out of business, then your business is in trouble. And so as a result, you need to be in charge of your own media. You need to have your own list and your own marketing funnel to drive people into your short-term rental business. So as we're going through here, I would just like to know who is your biggest source for generating bookings for you. And then not only that, but who is it? What percentage of business did they generate for you? So we're going to assume as well that you have a website set up. I know that Jay in his courses have a bunch of recommendations for your website and things. So today we're going to be talking about supporting channels. Obviously, having your website set up is very, very important. That's very encompassing though, as far as like it's a lot of setup and there's a lot of decisions that you're going to want to make. So I think that it's important that you have that set up and you go with what works best for you. And that's going to depend a lot too on what integrations work. And so I'm not an expert by any means on, websites for short-term bookings. So I would suggest that you, follow Jay's recommendations there, because he's really tested things out and is systematizing things so that it works well. All right. But we're going to talk about setting up your channels. So I think there's an order of channels that you need to have set up in general. So first, we're going to talk about social channels. We need to have our social channels set up. We need our ad account set up. We need our Google Tag Manager set up. We need MailChimp set up, which is our email marketing system. And I suggest MailChimp because that's one of the easiest things that you can set up in general. Then we create a plan. And we create this plan around content strategy, who you're trying to target, and things like that. And then we build assets that run in the background. If you think about digital marketing, a lot of people think that marketing is like a tool to, generally acquire customers and things, and that's true. And but marketing is also a tool that you can use to create scale in your business. So if you have people that are staying in your units and they are asking questions over and over again, or if you have people that are, coming to you and they continue to ask the same questions over and over again, you can create content that is going to solve those questions, answer those questions, and then at the same time, allow you to work on other things so that you don't have to respond with saying, the same answer every single time. So assets that run over time are like email marketing sequences, email marketing follow-up. And these are things that once you set them up, they continue to run behind the scenes. They don't take additional work, and they're just going to drive return for you. So it's like, I live in California over here, and it's expensive to hire new clients. I mean, sorry, not new clients, but new employees, right? Employees are expensive. But when you can deploy systems that are going to help you to grow, that's going to be a lot more beneficial for your business, because it doesn't cost extra to, other than the base of the software or the tool that you're using. So let's talk about social channels first. There's a few things that you need to have in place when you're thinking about social channels. Okay. So I'm going to be pulling up some things and we're actually going to run through how to do this, but you need to, in general, have at least, I think for short-term rentals, you need to have Facebook, and you need to have Instagram running. So let's go to here. All right. So if you do not show hands really quick, or a show of comments rather, in the comment sections. Okay, 100% from Airbnb. We have 100% from Airbnb at the moment. So that's good to know. So I think that makes sense though, right? I'm in some things, I'm in the same exact basket as you guys. So I do digital marketing. And Earl's 100% Airbnb now. And that's okay, right? Because that is a tool for acquisition, right? Airbnb is really, really good at driving new customers to you. And, other channels too. If you wanted to sell a physical product or, something, where's the place that you would try to go to find customers? You try to go to Amazon, right? Amazon has those customers, especially, it depends on what your product is. But you can tap into that customer source. You just need to have a way to retain your customers and sell them additional products on the back end somehow. Because again, if you're selling something on Amazon and Amazon changed the rules and shut your account down, or they started selling it and competing with you, or there could be a million things that could happen, then your business is in trouble because you're relying completely on Amazon, and that's not cool. So same thing with Airbnb though. What if Airbnb starts buying units and says, you know what, we've turned into a venture capital company. We're just going to buy units and only show our units. Or what if they started giving their own units preferential treatment and everybody else got poor treatment and your bookings went down? that could happen. That's not far-fetched to think that would happen. Okay, so we need to have social channels. We need to know, first of all, where are your clients spending time? Facebook is great in general because they have great ad tools. The only thing that's difficult with Facebook is you don't get organic reach with business pages anymore. And so you're going to have to spend some money to get people in front of it. All right. So Sarah just said she got somebody today who wanted to ask to extend their stay, but wants to book the extra 2 days on the website instead of Airbnb. See, that's awesome. Great work, Sarah. Sarah, can you type in who you're using for your website platform? I would be interested to know, just so that I can use examples. And if you guys could tell me who's the preferred website vendor right now too, that would be helpful, so that I can give you specific examples. But let me see here. I'm going to talk about this. Let's go back to this. Okay, we're going to go back here. So Logify is John. Very good. Is everybody else on Logify too? Would love to know. Okay, but let's get back to the Facebook. I'm going to pop this in here. So if you go to Facebook, and excuse my news feed here, but if you go to Facebook and you click on pages, you're going to be able to see all the pages that you like. Then you're going to hit this button right here. You're going to hit create page. And then you're going to create a business or a brand page. You're going to put your name of your example Facebook or example training page. And then the category. Let me see here. Yeah, I would do hotel. Don't show my address. And then just the city. I would choose the city that you're in as your headquarters, and I would put your own personal business address. Okay, so I'm going to put in some they didn't like my name. Brandon's Executive Lodging. I just made that up. You guys have your company names. So really, it's as simple as this. We're gonna hit create, and the internet's taking forever. But once we're there, we are going to then add a profile picture, add a background image, and this is very important, I think, because you're going to be competing with Airbnb and other hosting companies. So what they're doing is dynamic retargeting for their ads and things inside of Facebook. They've set up codes so that when you visit certain pages, it automatically publishes that and uses that as a way to try to target people and get them to come back and stay. So they are really good at doing typically high quality advertising with cool looking ad products. I've seen inside of Jay's group, I think it was a gamer who posted a picture of all of his listings. They were just, he thinks that they were, I saw that he said like, hey, look at, they're advertising my units. In reality, they're probably just doing some dynamic retargeting because he was visiting those pages most likely. And I'd bet that most of you have seen your units as well inside of the newsfeed because they're really good at it. So you need to have consistent branding. And so I think too, that this is very important that you get a few things set up. So you need to have a logo that you use across the board. And I would suggest getting one made that's square just because it fits into your profile pictures here. So when you upload a profile picture, it needs to be a square image and then a cover photo. I would typically use the photos that you use as your cover images for your units. And if you have multiple units in there, I would use them so that they are, I'll skip this for now too. And we'll go into here. So right here, that's why I would use a square photo for your logo. And I would specifically put a logo that is inside of this profile picture. Now, if you are going to personally brand it with your own face, which I don't think that any of you guys are going to do that. But if you're going to use yourself as your branding, you could put your face there. but I don't think that that's necessarily very important. But it needs to be consistent across all of the social channels. That way, if people see you, they know who you are right away. It's not like a guess of where they are, who they're staying with. And so having that branding in place is going to allow you to go a lot further, especially if you're using this branding in your specific, let me see here. I'm going to show you an example really quick. But just as out of curiosity, is anybody using... does everybody have logos made, or do you need help with places to find logos? Love to know. Google domains with Logify. Okay, very good. Everybody's using Logify, but type in the chat there. Do you guys have logos set up? And if you don't, I totally suggest using Fiverr, because they have typically pretty good results for cheap. If you have ever heard about Fiverr, that's helpful. So we need to have consistent branding throughout, though. So the images that we use across all of our social channels need to have the same name. It needs to be spelled exactly the same. And then we need to have the same logo as well. Typically, companies will have a square logo and a rectangular logo for their websites and things, just because it fits better. I'm trying to get you an example here and pull this up. I should have had this prepared, but we're waiting on my computer. It's, okay, cool. 99 Designs is good. It typically gets the same level of results, in my opinion, as Fiverr, though, and it's just expensive compared to Fiverr. So I would suggest trying out Fiverr, unless that's just been my experience. Although I did have my website built on 99 Designs, so I did like their process and things. So that one of my podcast websites. Okay, but continuing on here. So once we have this set up, then what we're going to need to do, so you set this up, you need to put your data into it. You're going to hit edit and edit your settings and things. Then you're going to want to create an Instagram profile as well. Instagram is created on the phone. And if you don't have Instagram set up, you have to download the app and then create the business account, and then it's done under settings on the profile. You connect it to a Facebook page, and it's actually very simple to do that. You can also connect it here once it's created as well. So you can log into Instagram and connect them here. But I really suggest connecting Instagram and Facebook, especially for the time crunched people here in the group, which is probably everybody, just because you're going to be able to share pictures. So we need this set up in the first place so that we can get Facebook pixels and things. But we'll talk about that in just a second here. All right. So coming back here, though, to setting up our channels, we need brand consistency, and we need to be creating content where people are hanging out. Now, I say that we should create Facebook and Instagram profiles because that's where people are hanging out in general. If you have, very specific subgroups of people that you're trying to target, so let's say we have people that you're targeting that are business owners or business professionals who are traveling, maybe LinkedIn is the place to do that, and place to be targeting. And the way that you need to create a LinkedIn account, and then you create a company page inside of LinkedIn, and it's a very similar process, but you need to, again, have the same branding consistently throughout. And then once you have your branding set up and running in place, you need to be setting up your campaigns inside of your Wi-Fi so that they look branded, right? If you have your Facebook, the same logo that you put into Facebook, let me see here, I'm going to create a custom. Okay. That repetition of seeing your logo over and over again is very, very helpful so that they know who it is that they're seeing. Especially they'll be able to associate it with the unit because they're inside the unit. And so they'll see that when they log in. Let's see here. So I'm just pulling this up to get it. Here we go. Okay. Downloaded it. All right. So the way that we do this, again, is we need to choose our campaign that we're going to edit. We're inside of the My Wi-Fi campaign editor. And then we're going to modify the logo, upload, This is a square logo. So like, for example, Maverick Digital Marketing is my company. Having this logo that is the same as my Facebook page is brand consistent. And so they're going to be able to see this. Right. So we have the same logo here, and then that brand recognition is important to have there. All right. So is there any questions about that so far? And I know that sounds simple, but it's amazing how many companies, especially small companies, have, different images across each one of their platforms. And then it's confusing as to, where people are. That kind of brand confusion, especially when you have a landing page or if you have content that you're putting out, when they get somewhere, they feel like they're not in the right place. So I think that that's really important. And it's just something that we need to note before we get started. All right. Just going to check the chat really quick. All right, we look good. Okay, so we're going back on here. So we have Ad Center as well. Inside of this is just a quick dashboard where you can see your ads and things. But to get to Ads Manager, you're actually going to go to, it's going to be under More. Where the heck did they move it to? There it is, Ads Manager right here. So we're going to be using Ads Manager to create retargeting audiences, retargeting pixels, and custom audiences. Okay, but we'll get into that in just a second. We're going to talk about that specifically after we talk about Google Tag Manager. So you need to have ad accounts set up. You need a Facebook ad account. And if you go to facebook.com/ads manager, you can sign up for one if you're not. And I would actually, if I was you, because they've changed the rules on how custom audiences work, I would go to business.facebook.com and sign up for a business manager. And business manager's accounts lets you upload custom audience lists. And that's the data that we're collecting, right? We're collecting names, emails, phone numbers from the guests who stay at your units. And so it's important that you're going to be able to upload those directly into Facebook and then market to those people because we're retargeting people. All right. So here we go. Once you have that set up, Business Manager, you're going to be able to add pages to it. And then with the ad accounts, it's going to do a prompt that puts you through to make sure that you have credit card set up and you're running with that. If you have any trouble setting this up specifically, reach out to me and let me know. And then I can help you walk through it. But it's a very, very simple process. And let's see here. So I'm going to show you too. Inside of Google Ads, you go to google.com/ads. It's now ads. It used to be called AdWords. And then you're going to hit the Start Now button and walk through on how to set up that as well. The reasons why I think having Facebook and Google Ads is important is with Google Ads, you can do some really cool creative types of ads. You can also do display ads and YouTube ads and search ads as well. I think though, in general, having, let me see here, just click on this account. Having display ads or search ads is probably not the best use of ad spend for most Airbnb hosts, just because there's so many different things that you can do. Let me see here. I'm going to switch to a different ad account. And we're going to jump into this. Okay, so Google has their ad product, which is wonderful, as I was mentioning. And I'm going to show you how we create what's called Google Tag Manager integrations. So this is a little bit complicated, but so far, really what we're trying to do is figure out where people are spending time, and then ad accounts are how we reach those people. And then Google Tag Manager is how we install and create remarketing tags for those people. So Tag Manager, we're going to use inside of your website and also inside of the Wi-Fi logins. Okay. But what we're trying to do is build audiences of people that have stayed in your units that we can market to and that will hopefully want to continue to receive promotions and emails and all kinds of things about staying at your units. Just really quick here, does anybody have questions so far, or does anybody have insights as to like what's their audience? Are they trying to get vacationers? Are they trying to get medical professionals? Are they trying to get medical guests, like people coming to a hospital, staying for extended medical visits, or anything like that in general to know? But as we go through here, just let me know if you have any questions. All right. So Google Tag Manager is a very cool product. So Sarah says business travelers for her. What's a tag? So we'll tell you here. Tag Manager is a tool that Google has. And what Tag Manager allows you to do is it installs on the website a container. And inside of this container, we can then put additional pixels. And pixels are pieces of code that allow you to track and retarget people that are visiting your website or any web page. So for example, right here under advanced, we have a Google Tag Manager code that we install on the Wi-Fi. URLs for vacationers. Very good. We also have a pixel ID that's right here. And so basically anybody who's a guest at your Airbnb, when they come in and they stay at your unit, when this pops up, we're tracking their device that they're using from now on. Well, you have dates that you can track them. You can track them up to 540 days inside of Google and 180 days inside of Facebook. So I'll show you how to install that. But Tag Manager allows you to place those codes without having to continually doing codes inside of your website and having to do additional like coding specifically. So let's see here. I'm going to give you an example. I think I might already have this set up. Let's see here. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example here. We're going to go through Tag Manager. We're going to create a container that we can then place codes. And then this container also has rule-based setup so that you can let that code fire when you want it to. Typically for short-term rentals and Airbnb users, we're going to want to track it across every single page, with the exception of confirmation pages. And I'll explain how that works here in just a second. So let's see here. I'm just going to use my website. I already have this installed under a different. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up the account. We need the account name so that it's clear who it is for. We need the container name, which is the URL without the www. And then we're going to use a web container. If you had an app or something, you could also use these different types of containers, but that's not relevant to us. We need to agree to the terms of service. And now we have this code set up. So we have the code 2 set up. So we place this container on all of the pages of our website. So this runs on all of the pages of the website. Now, typically, web development companies have this so that you can add a code to the head section and to the body section. So you just place that in there. You copy and you paste it. And if you have any trouble with this, let me know, because sometimes it can be difficult to find out where to put it. But typically it's under settings and it's not very difficult at all. Sometimes it is depending on, who it is that you're targeting and things. Let's see here. All right. So we paste that in there. Let's see here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the Google Tag Manager code for Maverick Digital Marketing. Where is it? Here it is. So here's the container ID that we're going to be using. And then we're going to go into my Wi-Fi and we put in that container ID right there. And we paste it. Now that's set. It's going to automatically place that Google Tag Manager code in there. And then we hit save. The place where we find pixels on Facebook, or we go to Ads Manager, we go down here to pixels. and then we add a data source. So this account, I haven't been running ads on it, this account. But we have our pixel ID, which is right here. If you click this, it copies it. So right there's our pixel ID. We place that inside of our Wi-Fi pixel section. Paste it. Now we hit save, and it's done. So we don't necessarily have to place that pixel in the container as well, or we can. So let me share with you what this looks like here. So I'm gonna click on this container. So currently we don't have any pieces of code inside of our container. So assuming that we copied and pasted that head section and that body section, we're then going to be able to place different pixels and different tracking codes inside of our container. And then we won't have to make changes to the website or to our Wi-Fi thing. We've already got it set up. Our Wi-Fi login page, I should say. So with this, we're going to click add a new tag. We have two things. We have the tag configuration. So this is going to be a piece of code that we are going to install. And then the trigger is when it happens. So let's jump into our pixel. So we're going to manually install the pixel code ourselves. And then we're going to copy and paste this pixel code into our container. So this is giving us, we're going to use custom HTML because Facebook and Google aren't the same products. So we're installing this Facebook pixel code that we just got into our container. And now we are going to trigger this on all pages. So if somebody views any pages of our website, or if they view any page that pops up, it's going to trigger and say it needs to fire this code right here. And what this is going to do is let us build a retargeting audience. So this, you need to label it Facebook pixel. We hit save. So that's our Facebook pixel. We also want to have Google Analytics installed on our tracking so that we can see and build audiences out of people that visit using our Google products. Let's get in here though and see. Yeah, we're going to want to measure Google Analytics inside of our ad account. So you need to also set up a Google Analytics account so that you can connect the two products. So just 1 second here. Sorry about that. Okay. So kind of the flow that we have set up for this, and I know this is a little bit difficult to understand, but here's how this works. We are going to have basically what you need to have are the products that you're using as ad products. You need the pixels that correspond with that ad product to be able to run ads in that. So for example, if you have, I'm going to just come in here. If you have Facebook set up, you're going to need Facebook pixels to build retargeting audiences for Facebook. If you want to have Google Ads set up, you're going to need to have Google Ads, Google Tag Manager, and also Google Analytics. And the reason for that is all of those products communicate with each other, and you get different data points in each one of those things. So for example, if you're running ads on Google AdWords, the conversions that are happening and conversions that you have set up inside of Google AdWords, those will only be reported, or they're best reported typically inside of Google AdWords. But you should also have Google Analytics hooked up to it so that you can build custom audiences that you're going to target and then have access to inside of Google AdWords. So I just wanted to make that clarification. So that's, I know, kind of complicated, right? But Facebook is its own ad product. Google is its own ad product. And so you need to have your ads set up with each one of those products individually. So I hope that makes sense. If you need additional clarification on that, let me know. So Facebook pixels are not exclusive to Facebook. You have pixels also that you can install for basically every other ad platform as well, including LinkedIn. But you use Tag Manager as the container that holds those pixels and tells the container the rules that it needs to fire. So for example, if you wanted to do it only on, confirmation page, so somebody goes to your website, they book a hotel, and then they hit the confirmation page, you would install a confirmation pixel, and it would only fire on the confirmation page. That way you can track which ad came and which ad was attributed to that specific booking. I'll show you an example of how that looks. I'm going to share the screen again. So that is called conversion tracking. And there are specific conversion events that we're going to add to specific pages. So we're going to use these different events. Let's talk about travel. So these different conversion events, right? You have view content, you have search, you have initiate checkout, complete registration, add payment info, purchase, contact, customize product, or you got a lead. Typically, when you are going to create, campaigns where you're running ads trying to, I'm not sure I'm sharing my screen. I'm not. So what I did was, remember, we went just back to the Facebook pixel. So that's the standard pixel. And this is going to track all of the activity on every single page. But if we want the greater depth of detail inside of Facebook advertising, we're going to use standard conversion events. So we click the drop down here. They actually have travel as the category of standard events here. And we have view content, search, initiate checkout, complete registration, add payment info, purchase, contact, customize product, or a lead. So I would be using inside of your booking websites, I would install this script on top of that base script that we have. So the way that this works is we're going to add this purchase tracking. We're going to add this tag. It's custom HTML. So I just paste that. And click save. Oops, I'm going to add a trigger. And so the standard trigger that we have is it can run on every single page, but we're going to add a new trigger that only happens when the page view happens. And typically when you have your website set up, you're going to have like the booking confirmation page, right? It'll have the word like confirmation in it. So the rule that we're setting up right now is that purchase conversion event is only going to happen on the page that contains the word confirmation, or whatever word you have, or whatever the page URL is. It doesn't have to be a word. It can also be like, if you didn't have custom URL set up, it just was like / FQ187 or whatever it is. So does that make sense? Really quick, I want to make sure that makes sense. But this is how, right? So only on that confirmation page, this tag says, hey, a purchase just happened. And then it tells Facebook, hey, the person that just clicked on this ad finally completed a purchase conversion. And so it's going to give you an attribution of that. I'm going to show you what that looks like specifically. I'm going to pull up an ad account and show you how we use that. Now, we typically use this. Well, no, the kind of marketing I was just going to say, we typically use this for e-commerce things, but we also use it for events and just all kinds of actions that we're working on here. Let me see here. All right, so as I'm pulling up an example, I want to see if that makes sense for everybody. And you tell me if it does. Let's see. Or if I need to go back through it some more. So let's do this. I'm going to show you. Bummer. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just pulling this up in this other So inside of your Facebook reporting, if you have the conversion pixel set up and you're creating ads that are optimizing for conversions, it will look like this inside of there. So we have an ad that we created. We're driving traffic. We're optimizing for a conversion action, which is purchase. And then it tells you all of the data associated with the ad that's running. So first thing, we have the number of impressions that we're running and what our cost per 1,000 impressions are. It tells us how many clicks we got, what our cost per click were, and then it tells us what the goal is. So this is actually a high ticket product that we're selling here. So this was $391 in ad spend, and it resulted in 8 conversions at a total revenue of $50,400. So, like specifically because we have these conversion pixels set up, we're able to then track and measure each one of these actions. And we're telling Facebook, hey, we want to be optimizing for these conversion actions. And what Facebook does is it actually shows the ad to the people most likely to complete that action. So that's kind of cool. But we also have these other standard conversion events too, like view content, add to cart, search, complete registration. So those are people that do opt-ins and things. And so even though our primary objective was sales, because we have the pixels installed, it's telling us all of this different data about the campaigns that we're running as well. So it's very important that you have these pixels installed and running. Once you get it set up, it's not something that you have to continually edit, but you just create ads with that specific end goal in mind. So it's important that you know what the end goal is. And when you're creating content or you're creating posts online, it can, a lot of times the problem that people run into is that they are creating content that doesn't have an end goal that could be a purchase. Or they're creating content and they're getting likes and shares and comments, but there's no ROI to that, right? And so we need to have something that is measurable specifically for ROI activities. That's things that generate ROI for your business. So just want to make sure that makes sense. Does that make sense, everybody? But these pixel codes will be installed on your Wi-Fi units, which is great because then you're actually creating audiences of people who are in your units, and then you can show ads to these people. So the way that we create these custom audiences once we have the pixels installed is we go here to audiences. And then we create an audience, and it's going to be a custom audience. And so we're going to use website traffic. And then we're going to choose the pixel that we just installed. This one is not the one I just installed, but you use all website visitors, and you can go up to 180 days inside of Facebook. I would do 180 days just because the nature of Airbnb, you're gonna want to target people longer because they go on trips longer. So this is how you create that inside of your different inside of Facebook. Let's talk about how you create it inside of Google AdWords really quick. So under tools here, we have Audience Manager. We're going to go create audience. We're going to choose website visitors. And this is why you need to have Google Analytics set up as well, because you're going to be able to track these different pages. So with this, you have your pixel installed on this. And let's see here. So if you go to, I'm going to preview it. This is the specific landing page URL that you want to add for this unit. So, you're going to have a campaign that is assigned to a device, that's assigned to a location within your Wi-Fi unit. And then from there, you're going to be able to create audiences that are visiting that specific unit. So the URL has to contain this. We're going to put paste. And right now it doesn't have any members of that audience. But as you get more people who are visiting your site, with the pixel that's installed, you'll be able to build up and see what that audience looks like. And you'll see how many people are there. So the initial list, I would go up to 540 days, just because it's good to have as many people on the list as possible. And then I would add an audience description, absolutely, especially if you're creating one of these for each one of your units. My suggestion would be, though, that unless you're in different locations and you have units in different locations, I would just lump everybody in together. And the reason for that specifically is because most of these audiences are going to be so small anyways, right? You're not going to have, say, more than, even if you're super busy and you build a really long list, you're not going to have more than like 5,000 people on this list. So it's not going to give you any benefit to segment these out individually. And so basically put everybody in the same grouping there, unless you had a unit that was like in Salt Lake, and then a unit that was in Atlanta, and a unit that was in California and Florida, right? Those should have their own audiences. But other than that, if they're close to each other, keep them in the same audience, simply because you're going to get good results. It's going to be a lot less work for you and a lot less confusing too. All right. Any questions so far as we get going through here? I'm going to see, where's the chat? The recording of the session is going to be sent out to everybody. It's being recorded right now on the cloud, so it'll be an automatic email that you'll get here after we end. And Sarah, did I answer your question about pixels? I hope that I did. All right. So once you create that audience, then you can use that audience in an ad. There's also additional ways to create audiences. You can upload emails as well. So the emails that you're collecting, totally would be uploading those on a regular basis. Unfortunately, there's no way to automatically have this done, right? You can't automatically update this. This has to be manually. So let me go to business. So as I mentioned, you have to have a business manager account to upload those custom audiences. And so you click create audience and custom audience, and then customer activity. So you can just copy and paste a file, or you can upload a file. If you want to copy and paste, you just click the email, and then you just paste it there. And then you name the audience and hit save. So I like to typically name things so that it's super clear. If I ever have to come back to it, I know exactly what it is, because you can really get confused in there. So just like the name of the audience. So I would say for you guys, it would be the unit number, the date, and how long you're going to be targeting them for in general. So hopefully that makes sense. And then once you go in to create an ad through Ads Manager or other accounts, you're able to then reference that audience and use it in your targeting. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm sorry, I hope I can make this as simple as possible. So if you have any questions, just let me know. But it's not too difficult to understand, except for, like, we don't need to know technically how to do coding, except we just need to know that we have to copy and paste it so that when the person is visiting, we're targeting them and tracking them. So I hope that makes sense. All we need to know is that it exists and that it's there. Beyond that, it doesn't need to be, something that you use. All right. So let's get the next step here. Okay. So MailChimp is also a very important tool to have set up, and this is a lot more straightforward. And so inside of MailChimp, let's go to when I get into the right account here. Hopefully this one is cool. I didn't necessarily want to go to a list. So MailChimp is great because, sure. it doesn't cost anything to start out, and then okay, cool. So inside of MailChimp, you have campaigns, templates, audience, and reports. So in the audience section here, I would suggest that you create audiences of people and lists of people that are going to be staying at your different units. So I think here you have the benefit. Again, it's going to depend on your business and your strategy that you want to do. But if you have all of your units that are like in a fourplex, right, then have all of your contacts go into the same basically audience list. If you have 2 units that are very different from each other, then have them go into separate lists. If they're in different like cities or towns, or there's different things to do, I think having that just set up so that you can individually talk to these groups of people in a way that makes sense. You have to remember that these are, again, when you're doing marketing, you're just talking to people. You're not necessarily like selling things to, it feels like you're, building things for the internet, but the internet is just people. So what's the way that makes the most sense when it comes to, building out and delivering marketing messages? If it's going to be sending out individual messages to each group of people, based on like the things to do in the area, it's going to make your marketing a lot more effective. I hope that makes sense. All right. So let's jump in here. I'm going to see really quick. I'm going to pull this up and drop it into chat, and I'll also give this to you here in just a second. So additionally, I think it's important to I'm going to put this in there. Use email as a way to deepen the relationship that you have with your guests, as well as stay in touch with them. So the way that we do this is we have our audiences, and audiences are the lists of people that we're going to be marketing to. Templates are great to have set up. Set it up with your logo. Again, it needs to be brand consistent, and it needs to have all of the important information. So wherever you're creating content for these people, so whether it's Facebook or Instagram, you need to be driving people to these other mediums so that you can just be in touch in more locations. And then campaigns are the email sequences that you have set up so that it runs automatically. But you have an email campaign, you click automated campaign, and basically when somebody gets tagged, then this email campaign is going to run. Oh, let's see here. I didn't have any tags created. Let's see. I'm just going to make it as simple as possible. Email your Okay, so inside of MailChimp here, you have the campaign name, you have when the trigger happens. So you're going to want to set that whenever you want it to happen. And then basically the email body that you design and create. It's very simple to do that inside of MailChimp. When you're editing these emails, I would probably be sending out emails once a month on this kind of a setup. And inside of chat, I included a Google Doc to this template, which is a short-term rental template. And this is set up so that you can have basically edited document, or you can make a copy of this. I gave you a link. It's so that you can't edit it, but you can view it. So when you're there, hit File, Save, make a copy, and then you can save these. And these are 12 emails that you can send out. And I think you need to make it very personal to your brand personality. And this first one, though, should go right away when they basically sign into your Wi-Fi. And it really helps them to get a better feel. Is that Google Doc? It should. Oh, it shows only to the panelists. Let me see. Are you guys panelists? Can you see that Google Doc in there? I put the link to it. I'm going to put it to, okay, there we go. That was the problem. Thanks for mentioning that. So with this, you can make a copy of it. But this helps you to set expectations properly. With email, you want to make sure to set expectations and then follow through on them. And I think that that helps you in a bunch of ways. Number one, if people get email addresses, typically they don't ever send anything out. And that's a big mistake. Number two, if you're going to send it out to them, you don't want to end up in their spam folder, and you want them to know what they should expect, why they should open your emails, and really what's in it for them. So this really helps you to onboard them into your process, what your company's all about, what's important to you, and why it's important to them that why they should open it. So just wanted to say thanks for signing up for our newsletter. We're so excited for you to be part of our, and you can make it as personal as you want. You can make it as corporate as you want. Typically, people like to do business with brands that are more personal, and especially because they're choosing Airbnbs versus a hotel. I wouldn't fall into the trap of thinking like, hey, I need to be ultra professional corporate, right? Like Hilton does that, and big hotels do that. So we need to figure out what makes you different and what makes you special, and especially with you're a person, and having that communication and relationship with your guests just makes you different. So, think about the language that you use and how you edit it so that it works for you. But, say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to show you exciting things, share with you exciting things that are going on every month that you're going to want to, see and be a part of. And we'll also give you access to exclusive deals that nobody else gets access to, so that if you want to stay again, you can be sure to get the best deals or something like that, right? But here we're also doing linking out. This is where you're going to be driving them to your Facebook pages, where it's another way to keep up, get special deals, right? You're going to incentivize them to follow you on these different channels. I wouldn't do Twitter. I had written Twitter into this at the time, but unless you're very, very active on Twitter, I would not be on Twitter, especially if you ever get negative reviews. If your guests see that you're on Twitter and you're driving them there, and they're upset because like they didn't have hand towels or something, they'll complain about it on Twitter immediately. And so it's a place for them to vent. So keep away from Twitter in general unless you're going to be there and be ready to respond. And then Instagram, I think is really, really good. And then make sure they have a link to your website as well. And then any kind of other pertinent information that you want to have them basically take you up on. And then we have January, and then February, and then March and April. And they're just kind of, consistent with things that are going on. And, this one says, are you sick of the cold weather? Right. And this is specifically if you're in California, right? We always get nice weather when everybody else is getting snowed in March. So you could send that out. And it depends though. If you're in a place with snow, you're going to want to change it, right? April, spring break, May is Memorial Day, and other events, right? So just ideas. Basically, email is a reason. You have to think of a reason to show up and why they're going to want to stay with you. The other thing that you want to make sure and have set in place with email is that you want to have just one specific call to action for each email typically, right? So what is it that you're looking to do? Are you looking to get bookings? Are you looking for them to follow your social channels? Are you looking for them to respond back to the email? What is the call to action? Make sure that it's very, very clear, and make sure that they can understand exactly how to take that step that you're looking for them to take. So if you want them to book for Memorial Day weekend, okay, here's the link to do that. Don't say, hey, go book and search for it. Don't make them do more activity than they need. And then the next thing that I think is important too is if you're asking them to go book and they're people who've already stayed at your hotel, make sure that you anchor in where they're going to be booking with pictures and things so that they recognize and remember where they stayed. And if you make the pictures clickable too, that's helpful in creating basically really well branded campaigns that they're going to recognize and be able to take action on right away. All right. So does that make sense, everybody? Really quick here. And these are just automated campaigns that go on, right? So these are the normal once a month type things that go out, whether you remember to email them or not. And I think that this is just a really great asset to have in place because it works whether or not you do anything, right? So that's very, very important. That's your email campaigns that are automated here. But let's say you're having a slow season and you want to send out a broadcast. Okay, so we need to make sure and have the guests that you're having. I'm going to go over this on how to add this into your Wi-Fi account. But we're going to create a campaign. We're going to send an email, and it's a regular email, not an automated email. And so let's say you had a very slow week. Basically, you just create an email and make sure that it's very clear on what they get, what's the call to action, and why should they open it. So typically, emails with great curiosity factors are something that helps to get a lot of open rates. And basically, you want to create emails that get opened. And so a lot of people typically overcomplicate things when they're thinking about email, right? They're not sure what they should be writing or what they should be saying in their emails. So a very simple way to break down email is to think about it in terms of micro conversions. So first, the person has to read the email in their mail client, right? So number one, we have to get the email read. We have to get the email opened. Then we have to get the email read. Then we have to get the email clicked on. And then once they're on your website, they have to convert. So each one of those micro steps is an easy way to think about, well, what's the best way to get somebody to click on this? So for example, if you wanted to do a special during midweek, if you said, we've never offered this booking special before or something, right? It's an interesting headline. If you want to know a bunch of good ideas for headlines that are going to get open rates, you should sign up for Expedia and TripAdvisor and all of the other travel websites, because they send out emails every single day and they have great email subject headlines that you can use to get open rates. So check out that for ideas too. I think that they have a lot of great swipe ideas that you can just follow. But make sure that you use that. Also, when you're adding subjects, you want to add preview text that helps to open it. So you have up to 150 characters in your subject line, and then you want to be sure to use that preview text because that helps to get opens as well. Make sure that your emails are consistent though, so that when they are getting an email, they know when they open it, they know that it's from the place that they stayed at for Airbnb, because they get tons of emails. They're probably on the TripAdvisor and the Expedia and all these other email lists too. So you need to stand out and be different from them. All right. So when you're going into set up an app, you're going to want to set up a autoresponder or email service app. Not SendGrid. We're going to do autoresponder. And you're going to select MailChimp. You're going to call it the app name, which is under your settings. You click integrations. 1 second here. Where is it? So this is your app name, is your account name. And then where's the API key? There it is, under extras. So your app name is this, and then your extras is your API keys. So you have the different API keys that are specific to your account. And then it's set up, and I would set this up so that immediately the users get put into an automation right away that logs them in and says, welcome to our unit. New one that I put. Anyways, I'll just use this one. You're only going to see your units, but basically the first time that they connect, real time once it's going to go into MailChimp. And then it'll automatically drive the people into the automation that you have. So I think email is probably going to be one of the most effective ways to take the guests that are coming in and using your devices to keep them basically coming back and staying in your unit. So it's a great way to keep them at top of mind. And you're going to be miles ahead of everybody else who has Airbnb units, because most people are not emailing them. And once this is set up, it's just going to run and continue to run behind the scenes for you, which is great. So any questions about that specifically so far? Okay, if any questions come in, we'll talk about that. But the next thing that we're going to talk about is building out baselines. So how do you measure success within marketing? There's 3 different levels of marketing funnel in general. And you guys are lucky in that you're getting guests who are already in that conversion phase, right? So typically we're talking about people that have already done business with you. Hopefully they know, like, and trust you already. And so it just is continuing to make offers that are at that conversion stage. If you're looking to build out marketing funnels and things that's just taking strangers for, travelers, people who are like, hey, I'm going to come and travel and be interested in traveling here soon, then that's going to take a lot more work. And that's a whole nother training in itself. But we're lucky that we're able to track people here. So the kinds of KPIs that we're going to want to track inside of conversion phase of the funnel are we're going to be basically increasing customer retention. How many times can we get people to come back per year? That's a great thing. So buyer frequency, how many times are they buying from us? Building out retargeting lists. What are our retargeting lists looking like? How many people are in these retargeting lists? What's the average value of a guest? How much are they worth to us every time they stay? How much money do we make? And how can we increase leads? So doing referral programs, asking for referrals, asking for additional stays, things like that are the kind of activities that are going to help us to measure additional ROI there. But it's important that we have that goal in mind. So whenever we're sending out a piece of like an email, we're sending out or posting content, we need to have that end goal in mind because it's going to help you to generate marketing that is a lot more effective versus just making things and thinking like, okay, I created a Facebook post. My marketing is done for the day. Right. So it needs to be like, what is the end goal for every single thing that we're doing? Sometimes it is just to stay in touch and keep people aware of your, service and your product, which is Airbnbs. I think that for the majority of your posts, you will be posting pictures of stuff to do around your units. And I think that would be good just to keep in touch. So measuring out like more awareness type objectives there at that stage is going to be important as well. So it's not just, I would go back and preface this comment here that we're focusing a lot on conversions, but we also want to be building awareness, keeping in touch with people, and measuring engagement and likes and comments and shares and traffic and things like that. So, but make sure that you have measurable and specific goals for the marketing that you're doing. And I think that it's really, really important that you know who you're targeting in general, right? So I think Earl said he's doing vacationers. Sarah said business professionals. It really makes a big difference because the things that are important to those people is very, very different, right? Somebody that's on vacation, they want to have fun. They don't want to do work. They want it to be easy. They want it to be convenient, and they don't want to take away from their precious vacation time. Versus somebody who's at work, they want to have access to, professional service stuff like printers and dry cleaners. And do they want, what is it that makes it important for that person? So figuring out who that client is and what makes them tick and what's the most important things. And if you think about too, their challenges and their pain points, what is the pain that they're feeling and how do you help them to avoid that pain? So specifically targeting people that had good experiences at your unit, what is a pain point that you can use to try and make it so that they want to come back and do business with you again? And typically, that's that fear of having a bad experience is going to be the thing that drives them to come to your unit, right? You're a known quantity. They've stayed there already. They don't have to do the emotional labor that it takes to be like, well, I hope this works out. I hope that we can find a place that has everything that we need. Now, especially the way that Jay teaches to set up and run his units, like everything is thought of and taken care of, like even his dry cleaning stuff that he has. And, it's really impressive to see how he runs his units. Same thing with Robert. It's like if you go to one of his units, you know exactly what the experience is going to be like, and it's very convenient. So, using those things to create offers and to really sell your units versus other ones really helps you to stand out. But make sure that you know who you're writing for and creating content for, and play off of those pain points. If you are targeting people that are on vacation, especially let's say you're targeting parents who have kids and small kids. If you look at Disney and their ads that they create, like they really go for emotional appeals, especially selling, like the magic and the experience and how your kids are young once, and that kind of parent guilt that you have. You can really dive into those kind of things with your content and stuff. So what do they feel? What is their before and after state? With you guys, it might be relief, and you are better priced than other hotels, and you're more convenient, and it's a better experience, a better stay, right? And we use these befores and afters, their pain points, and we help them to move on their journey from being basically somebody who stayed at your unit to somebody who continues to book over and over again. And then how do we target them? We already went over targeting for them. And then how do we partner with them? How can we take these people who are excited about staying at your units? They've had great experience. How can we take them and incentivize them to drive more guests and more people to your unit? So, there's all kinds of things you can do to incentivize people. And especially once you have their data, you can create ads that say, refer a friend and you get one night free, or I don't know if you'd want to do that or not, but whatever it is that makes sense specifically for you. Oops, I didn't fill out that one. So let's talk about the offer. What is it that they need? What do the people need so that you can try to incentivize them to stay at your unit? Now, a lot of times people think like, okay, the only thing that we can offer to get people to come and take action is going to be a discount. And that's not true at all. So I think that if you're trying to figure out what is it that people want and what is it that they need, what is it that's very valuable to them, if you go through and you look at the reviews, that helps you to define what is important to the guests that are staying there, right? If they said, like, I can't believe how clean this was. It was beautiful. Everything was seamless. We got in late and, we were tired and it wasn't hard to get in, right? That's like, they're talking about convenience. They're talking about amenities. They're talking about all of these things that are very, very helpful for you as a business owner to get into the mind of the customer. So equally as important as the positive reviews are the negative reviews. And I know that a lot of times the negative reviews are just kind of crazy, right? Where people are just venting and going crazy, but it helps you to see too what's in their mind. If people are saying, you know what, these people, they only gave us till 11 to check out and we asked for 10 extra minutes, and you know what, they didn't give us any flexibility. What if you made a special offer that was like an extended checkout for free? If you book, 4 nights midweek, you get an extended checkout, right? And so they feel like they're getting something. It doesn't really cost you anything extra, but you could create offers for people. And again, we're trying to create offers that are going to drive people to come and book with you, right? So I hope that makes sense. But typically things that people want, they like to get price, obviously. So I mentioned that discounting isn't the only thing, but it is definitely a thing people take action because there is a discount. So doing like multi-night booking specials, last minute booking specials, especially if you just have empty space, might as well fill it. ease of use. So making it super convenient for them, trying to figure out different services that you can add on top of it. So adding value rather than taking away value. So especially if you already have systems in place, to make it very easy to do bookings and to get in, it's just, really highlighting that and what makes you different. So that's good. The other thing is fear. So like people are afraid to try new things. And I would try to frame that not in a way of like, hey, have you ever had a bad experience at a hotel? Luckily, you had a good experience with us. So come back and stay. You already know that you're going to have a great time. And you could also reference additional reviews and additional things that help to convey that you're consistent and a great solution for them. Convenience is a huge thing too. Time savings is another one. So especially if you know that you have groups of people that are coming to stay for like a conference that's coming up, if you say, hey, it's super convenient, we're only a few minutes away from this location and people love staying here during this conference, so be sure to book, that's something that helps to define that. I wouldn't ever underestimate though how important it is to continue to tell people what the value is, right? People a lot of times take for granted what the benefit of their service is, right? So they'll just say like, oh yeah, they know where it is. They know the location. So I don't need to mention that it's just a 2-minute walk to the convention center or a 2-minute walk to the airport or, whatever it is that makes your unit unique. But be sure to continue to sell that value and that benefit because it's very, very important. People need to be told what that is. So let's talk about the assets that you're going to build. We already went through the email assets. I think that you should be building out content that is typically, specific for your unit and the area that you're in. It's important to have a good mix of these 3 things. So typically promotional, educational, and entertaining. And if you can have mixes of those, it's really, really helpful. So promotional is just like, hey, we have a book 2 nights and get the 3rd night 10% off, or book 2 nights, get the 3rd night free, or, whatever it is that you come up with, right? That's strictly promotional. And that's interesting. Educational is, hey, there are new events that are coming up, or a new concert is happening. Are you going to be wanting to go to this concert, or are you going to want to go to this food festival that's happening, or music festival, or whatever it is, right? So we're educating the guests on events that are coming up. And then entertaining, right? So that's just funny stuff. Like if there was interesting or entertaining things happening around, this can even be just like pictures of food from local restaurants on Instagram, right? It's not necessarily entertaining, but it's just kind of like for the purpose of being out there and people see the content, and it just is purely for engagement. So that is also some kind of content that's very important here. I would say though, for most people and most units, if you just create Instagram posts and try to post, I would say daily if possible, if not daily, at least a couple times a week, where you're just staying in touch with people and they're seeing the stuff that's going on, and it's helpful. Once you build out an Instagram following too, I would suspect that people searching for locations and stuff to do, you would see a lot of people potentially following your account if you're going to be known for highlighting cool stuff to do for when they're on vacation. So that's just as a good side note there. So let's talk about the 3+1 strategy that I like to use. So if you have the same offer out there in general, people get tired of seeing the same ads. So let's say you were going to do let's pick a 4th of July strategy. So 3 weeks of promotion and 1 week of follow-up. I would probably start running a 4th of July strategy in probably June if I didn't have July already booked out all the way. But I would say, hey, 4th of July is coming up soon. Here's all the cool events coming up. And 1 week I'd have just pictures of cool events coming up, pictures of cool things to do. And then the 4th of July, 2nd week, I would be like, hey, we have all of these great things. We have barbecues, and we have hammocks, and we have hot tubs. And then you're highlighting the benefit of the unit. And then the last one would be like the different food places to go around there and like all kinds of cool things, right? So we're using a 3-week block strategy that says basically, here's everything that we have coming up. Here's all the cool stuff about the unit. And here's the cool stuff to do just right around the unit specifically. So it's not giving the same offer, but it's very relevant to the stuff that is coming up and is available. And then on the 4th week, if you don't have it booked out already, it just is strictly book now. And we're going to be targeting people who've engaged with any of the other posts, and also people that have engaged with and stayed at your unit in the past. So that way you're able to rotate it. And typically I like to create offers that are rotated on a monthly basis, so that it doesn't seem like you're just constantly putting out the same thing over and over again. If you ever had a friend or family member who's trying to pitch you on like a business all the time, and all they do is talk about the same thing over and over again, you know how boring that gets and how annoying that is. You're like, listen, I already know, I don't want it. Please leave me alone. This strategy lets you keep things fresh, and it lets you keep, engaging people and allowing your content to be the segmenter, which drives people to basically book with you. So that helps you to keep your content fresh. So 3 weeks of content, 1 week of promotion, and then you rotate it based on what's going on around your unit. So hope that makes sense. I found that that's been super effective. All right. And that is it. If you need help, though, be sure to reach out to me. I think that we covered a lot of things today. So number one, I think that's most important in general right now for everybody is make sure that you have your channel set up. Go set up your social channels. Make sure that they're brand consistent. Get them going. Go set up your Google and your Facebook ad accounts. Go install your tag manager. Install it both on your website and on your Wi-Fi. Install your Facebook pixels. Install your Google Analytics. Get MailChimp up and running. Implement the 12-month email automation that we have in place. And then figure out what is your USP that you're going to be selling, your unique selling proposition. Who are you targeting? What's going to be most important to them? What are their pain points? What are their things that really matter to them? And then build assets and digital marketing assets, so content and emails that speak to those pain points and solve problems for your guests so that you can continue to get bookings directly from your own website. So if anybody has any questions here, now is a great time to ask. Let's see if we've got any questions. I see my friend Jesse is watching. Jesse says he loves discounts. All right. So I don't see any questions here. Everybody here has my email address. And Ignat had asked, he said, I tried to pay for the routers and the service, however, site was not. It's actually a cash flow diary is the promo code. Not cash flow. I think I told you cash flow, and that was an error. So be sure to use promo code cash flow diary. All right. And if there's nothing else, be sure to let me know what you got. I think that this is just so cool the way that Jay has it set up. He's got it set up in an amazing way, and just having additional marketing assets so that you can, drive people to your booking websites is really, really helpful. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any other questions here. So I'm going to jump off now. If anybody else wants to reach out privately, though, be sure to say what's up. I'm here to help. And definitely a good place to get additional resources and additional help is my YouTube channel. And I'll send a link to that here inside a chat. This recording will be available directly after this. It's being recorded in the cloud right now, so you'll get a cloud recording notification, Chris. And thanks for your questions. I look forward to talking with you guys, and have a great day, everybody. Actually, one second here. Chris had asked a question in the actual question section, not in the chat section, which is why I didn't see it. All right. So here's Chris's question. Would you recommend separate Airbnb guests, separating the guests by the type of traveler? And if so, what is the easiest way to do that? That's a great question. I think if you have that data, it helps. The best way to do that is to add notes manually inside of MailChimp. And I'll show you how to do that. Let me jump in there. So inside of MailChimp, you also have tags that you can apply to your guests. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so we're going to look at our lists here. Let's go to audience. We're going to go to this one, view contacts. So let's say I knew that this person right here was like, you know what, this person who just stayed, they are also a guest. So like a business traveler. So I would say this person is a business traveler. I'd type in notes about them, and that's helpful. But the other thing that I would do is add tags. So you create tags like vacation traveler, business traveler, family traveler, like adding additional information and segmentation in there. So then what you can do is you can segment people based on that, especially if you have like family events or family vacation stuff, right? If you had a 4th of July event and cool stuff that's going on there, you may not want to be targeting a business traveler message, right? Because they're not interested in family vacation, but you might send it and says, hey, 4th of July, here's all the stuff to do for families in our town. And you just list all the things, right? Like Jay and Robert's units are in Costa Mesa, which is not very far away from Disneyland. So like Disneyland has cool things coming up, like the new Star Wars land is opening at the end of May, and they're actually all sold out. Every single hotel within like 2 miles of Disneyland is sold out. So you could send out an email that says, hey, Star Wars land is opening. We have availability, right? And that would be something cool that people would say, oh, amazing. Like I really want to go. And there's no way to get a hotel close by. So that makes sense. And especially if you said it's only an 18-minute drive from our place to Disneyland, it makes a lot of sense. Does that make sense, Chris? I hope that answered your question. But that's done manually. I think that's the best way to do it, because unfortunately, you're not going to get that data unless you get like more profile information. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Have a fantastic day. I'm also going to break this down and edit it into sections so that it's not so cumbersome to have to go through as well. But I hope that you enjoyed this training, and I look forward to talking with you. I think maybe too, just as an ongoing thing, that we might just continue to do additional like monthly meetings here where we say, hey, we're going to create a Facebook ad. Let's go and create one. I'm going to show you how to do that step by step. Okay, here's what we're going to do for targeting our custom audiences and things like that, because there's definitely more that we can talk about. So if you guys would be up for that and into it, I'll do that. Thanks, Tyler. All right, everybody, appreciate all of you. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.